Hey there everybody, Joe here, and welcome to part 3 of the fundamentals of landscape painting. This is the fun part where we use the knowledge that we exercised in the first 2 videos, and if you didn't watch those, go back and do those exercises because this is a pretty big deal. You can make a 3-dimensional environment with atmosphere and different colored objects that are in perspective lined up with the horizon and create your own landscape. But hey, there's more knowledge that we can add to that to make a pretty picture that looks like something that we've seen before. And you can use the natural patterns that you observe in the natural world that are predictable and simply apply those patterns to what you're imagining to make it more believable. That's all we're doing here. And in this video, I'm going to show you more about mixing colors of light together to achieve the look of direct sunlight striking a rock and casting a shadow, splashing water, hitting the rock and coming up into the sunlight. We'll add a few brush tricks and techniques to this knowledge about color in order to get some believable looking texture and movement in our picture. And by the end of this, you're going to be painting a very nice looking picture. I'll walk you through the whole thing. Okay, now first I want to talk about the surface I'm painting on. This is just a old cabinet door made out of cheap particle board, and I just put some primer on it and I'm going to paint with my acrylic paints right on this surface because I'm not trying to do a nice permanent painting to keep around. I like the freedom of being able to produce something that is maybe subpar, maybe something I think is junk. I need that freedom in order to learn. So let me recommend, try painting it once with these kinds of materials before you move on to nicer things like a canvas and maybe more expensive paints in tubes. Okay, so I'll do the sky first. And I'm thinking that my sun is shining from the left side up here, so I'm going to put pure white because I know that when you're looking up at the sun there's nothing brighter. So that's going to be my brightest color in the whole picture. And you can see that this white out of the gallon quickly just smears all over that. And so, you know, for comparison, I'll just see what it's like. This will be kind of fun. I haven't done this before. We'll put some white out of the tube down here. Let's do the red and yellow first. I want to put some color in my light source. So I want that color to be orange-ish. Then I know that I want to blend into a blue somewhere up in here, this top right corner. So I've got color here, and no big deal that it mixes together. I want it to blend together. Now, you can remember from the first lesson where I was talking about atmosphere that blue always tries to go green. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Not too much. You can see that's a small amount in comparison with these. And so blue is going to start turning green, and that's when I'm going to want to add my magenta. But I'm going to wait until it blends so that I can decide how much of that magenta I want to add into there. Alright, I've got some colored light. I'm liking the way that looks. That's going to blend this way, and it's going to get darker and bluer as it comes this way, but I don't like that green. I don't want a greenish sky, but I do like this gradient. I want it to look constantly darker as it moves toward the sky, toward the blue. But as different colors mix, there can be a darkening effect that happens, and that's when I say that I want to watch out that where I've got red in my mix here, it's not going to be so much that it causes a darkening effect when it hits that blue. That was an issue that was covered in that first video. So imagine maybe the bottom 2/3, maybe 3/4, a section maybe like this big. Imagine a section here that's gonna have my large shapes in it. So I'm gonna put 2 curves in. I'm gonna put a top one and a bottom one. The top one's gonna be smaller, so 1, 2, a big one down here. And I'd like to see this kind of go a little higher so I have room for maybe a rock or something going down. I want to see a little more of this beach. So I'm just planning ahead. So go ahead and just copy what I'm doing so that you can, you know, just get some good practice with this method. It's just one curve and then another curve. And so you can see this one's smaller. Well, that's going to look like it's a similar curve that's just further away. Now, a very reliable rule with perspective is that every time I go half of my distance to the horizon, so anytime I go from here to the halfway point between my brush and the horizon, it doubles the distance. So from here to here, this is twice as far as my brush, and so from here to here, this is twice as far. And so the helpful application of that is that I can go from here and make this same two-shape deal right here. Watch. So I'll just take my brush and go 1, 2, and make another couple of waves, and now they're real scrunched, and that scrunchy look really helps my perspective to be three-dimensional and natural looking. So likewise, if I have 2 here and then 2 here, that represents similar size. And I'm not saying that you want to duplicate the exact same shape over and over. It's just to gain a basic understanding of similar sized objects. So then if I go halfway to the horizon again, that means I should be able to, if it was twice what this was, I should be able to put this entire set of 4 shapes in this little tiny space. So rather than count them out, what that means is that I can just represent it with brush strokes. So watch, 1, 2, 3. I'll just settle for 3 because they can be different sizes. It's not like I need to be exact. So the basic rule here is that when I get up to this top quarter, you know, maybe this is more like a 1/6 of this full distance, it can vary from picture to picture. But this helps you to get a basic understanding of these proportions, how big this set of shapes is in comparison to these here. So I started with the bottom 2/3. I did 1, 2, and then I cut it in half to the horizon and did 1, 2, just like that first one, and then I cut it in half again and tried to put 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes in there to represent the same kind of shapes flattened out by the perspective. And I might make long ones that are coming in. You know, maybe I don't want to have a perfectly straight shoreline that goes back. So I'm kind of thinking that I want to try to mix this up a little bit. So how about I'll bring this one in a little bit further in, but this helps me to see just how flattened out I need to make it. So you can see I'm just kind of going both ways. I'm going left, right, but my priority here is level brush strokes. It's really going to show up in my picture if my brush strokes start to go kind of diagonal. That's going to mess with the perspective, so I really just want to try to keep them horizontal. Don't worry about getting a perfect wave shape. If you really want to get into those details, then watch my other video, how to paint a beach wave with acrylics, and that'll get into more of the nitty-gritty details of making tiny waves, you know. Let's do this too. This will be fun. We'll put a little rock right there. These cliffs are in between me and the sun. I've got the sunlight shining here, so these are mostly going to be a silhouette. I'm looking at the shadow side, so I want to make sure that I have these dark enough to look like a silhouette. And for that reason, I can make them maybe a little bit more on the blue-violet side. So I'll just do the same thing, only a tiny bit lower. I don't want to start, you know, cutting across the horizon too much yet. I still want this to be really distant. I'm making another hill, and so I'll do the same process. I'm going to match the color that's here in darkness, you know, just matching the brightness of the color. And it's just approximate. See that? How that looks like a match? It's not a match. It's going to be darker when it dries. So black and white on the left, and then I'm going to add my red and phthalo green as I move to the right. I want to move my brush different ways as I'm doing this also. I'm going to put kind of a little patch. It's fun to put little clusters of this in different places, you know, and then some empty space in between. Makes it look more like it's flying and pulling apart. You don't want to just make one cloud of it. Little details and finishing touches, you know, it's kind of fun to connect dots because, you know, water pulls apart and leaves strands. So it does look more watery if you connect some of the dots with little strands.